He's the voice you trust for the teams you love. You're listening to Marc Daniels and the Beat of Sports.
Happy Wednesday, buddy. Welcome to Beat of Sports. I'm Marc Daniels. That's Chris Vasquez over there. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
Mike Tuck sat in yesterday for me. I was at a UCF event that I've been a part of for years, and the kind folks at Coca-Cola invited me to be part of a kind of a private special event yesterday, which was nice. And then after the luncheon, I did a Q&A with Scott Frost.
Nice.
I was invited for a tour of the bounce house.
Okay.
In the new tower.
How's it looking?
It looks awesome. And then you go, so this is going to be done in 80 days to play a game? And
oh, boy.
No. I was told ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Nice. Like they're not concerned. They feel good. So it was really cool. Obviously, they still a lot of stuff to do, but, totally different look. The space is significantly bigger. Some really cool things that they've done with the outdoor suites and the indoor suites and club level. And then there's a few private things I can't discuss that I know UCF is going to roll out as they get set for the stadium opener and everything. I told Kelly, I tell you, in your inside the stadium. So, yeah,
nice.
Petting zoo for the kids on the 7th floor. No.
I got excited.
Saw the broadcast booth. It's, a little bigger. A little bigger. I'm not complaining.
I was going to say, you sound disappointed.
No, I understand where they left the space for. Okay,
love the high pitch.
I love where they put the space. It should go to the big donors and so forth. But I'm fine. Our Spanish guys got a booth now too.
Nice.
So I'm excited. No more outdoors with the rain and everything. So excited about that. But no, it looks really cool. And I look forward to when it's done. So appreciative. Had to put the hard hat on, put the vest on, everything.
I'm sad I never got to see the old booth. I'm hoping I at least get to see the new one.
Well, we'll have to bring you out before the season starts, Chris.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I got less than 11 hours, about 11 hours till tip. Stomach's in a knot, not doing well.
You need some beer?
No.
I got you.
I don't. I just, the weight, and then, it's going to be one of those nights. Terry Mohajir is going to join us, the athletic director at UCF. One never short of opinions, and Terry's going to join us. He was on the AD call. It's been reported yesterday that the Big 12 athletic directors had. And I'll ask Terry about his thoughts on what's happening at Texas Tech, their position, what the court has ruled, and he's not shy of his opinion. So that'll be coming up about 9:55. We'll chat with him about that. And a few other things I want to get to at Terry. Keith Smith will be by for his weekly basketball visit. We get set for Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight. I was not surprised on the whole Victor Wembanyama with the call. During the game, it should have been a flagrant foul. And that's not why the Knicks lost the game, but it should have been a flagrant foul. No question about it. Should have been a flagrant foul. You could have issued a flagrant 2, which would have led to a suspension, which, as I said to Kelly, a better chance of me starting at guard for the Knicks tonight than that leading to a suspension. So, like I said, I love a good conspiracy. I don't think the NBA was in it to rig it to extend the series. And nothing you can do about it now. So suck it up, buttercup, and play Game 4.
I don't know what calling it.
But I would take a shank to that guy at the jump. What?
I don't know how calling it a flagrant foul now does anything for anybody.
Well, no,
I know they didn't, but I don't know.
No, but if you do, it counts towards flagrant fouls. It leads to suspensions if you issue that. But they didn't, so you move on. That's it. You just move on. And that's in the past. So you deal with it and you move forward. That's it, man.
It is what it is.
It is what it was and is, and all that stuff. So they'll tip off tonight. Great Stanley Cup game last night again. It's been an unbelievable series. Carolina wins 5-3, and that series now even at 2. So there'll be a game 5 tomorrow night, game 6 in that series. England and Costa Rica play today, 4 o'clock, Inter and Coast Stadium, in a friendly in advance of the World Cup, which begins tomorrow. And our coverage is brought to you by friends at Fiddler's Green Irish Pub. We'll tell you about the cool stuff they've got going on. And it's the place to be as the World Cup begins tomorrow. The U.S. plays Friday night. And today, 4 o'clock, if you're near the stadium, it'll be crowded. 4 o'clock start for England and Costa Rica downtown. Terry Mahaja joins us next, but up here first, here's everybody's favorite segment.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? One Forrest one.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CV's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
Had to go yesterday with Tuck.
Tuck didn't like it.
Tough. He's a tough
He is.
critic.
He is.
Tough guy.
I don't know. I can't. It's so hard to get through to him.
Okay.
Mark, if there's a bee bothering you, don't swat at it. Don't run away. Just look at it. Because seeing is believing. You want the bee to leave?
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So I mentioned the World Cup starts tomorrow. We've got coverage on this station as well as 8, 10 a.m. of really every match. And again, that friendly today is at Interco Stadium, England and Costa Rica will play, and the U.S. will play on Friday against Paraguay as the world's biggest sporting event comes to America. They had 90,000 people at Jordan-Hare Stadium last night when Argentina played Iceland. 90,000 people. It was insane. It was unbelievable. And they've actually had a lot of success playing these friendlies on college campuses that are not World Cup cities. And the turnout's been fantastic. Now, yes, Messi was a big draw, and he played a little bit, got on the pitch, and did get a penalty kick goal. We're going to talk with Terry Mahadra, the UCF AD, in just a moment or so. The Brendan Sorsby news is a headline that college sports is going to deal with for a while. And the only thing that changes some of this noise is as we get closer to the season, which is now less than 80 days away. What happens next? The NCAA filed an appeal. At the moment, Texas Tech plans on playing him. The ADs of the Big 12 got on a conference call yesterday. The presidents, I believe, are set to get on a call Monday in the Big 12. A lot of eyes are on Brett Yormark and what he, as the commissioner of the Big 12, may do. And if he does take action, what would Texas Tech do? So, and it is interesting, of all the stories in college sports that you would think, what could unify people? It is a little bit funny that after all that, this seems to have unified a lot of people. But Terry Mahadra, the athletic director at UCF, joins us. Good morning. How are you?
How are you?
I'm great. Let me start. I don't know what you want to share. It's been reported that the Big 12 ADs had a call yesterday to discuss the situation.
Going right into it. You're just going right into it, huh?
I don't like to walk in the shallow end. I prefer to dive into the deep end when I'm at the pool. So I'm going to dive in there.
You just dove. So okay, let's go.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you want to share. Some stuff has been reported. I don't know how contentious things got, but I'll give you the floor to share what you want to share, and then give me your thoughts on where the story's at now.
Well, I won't give specifics to what was shared, but I mean, it was very well chronicled that. There was a conversation with the ADs and all the ADs and leadership of the Big 12 conference. It was a good conversation, productive. I think a lot of people had, editorials of what they wanted to say. And I think Brett, to his credit, wanted to give everybody a voice to give their opinions. And that's how that went. And now it goes to a different level of governance, and which is, based on our bylaws, which it goes to the president, and I'm sure he'll update the executive committee of the board of directors, and then move to the full board to make a decision on how to proceed. So, it's a tough situation. There's a lot of, I think we as a league have to. Everybody's kind of watching us and how we're going to lead in this process. And I think that's something that we can't take lightly or for granted. And that did come up on the call yesterday. I will share that. And so I think we're with where things are nationally on this topic, I think there's probably more unity on this than I ever would have thought before. And as we know, institutions can't control trial lawyers, judicial outcomes, legal strategies, anything to do with the courts. We don't control. What we can control is what happens on our campuses and what happens with playing time. So those are some of why I've made some of the comments that I made. I wasn't necessarily referencing Texas Tech. I'm pretty cautious about talking about somebody else's school. I'm just saying if it was happened at our school, this is how I would handle it. The real irony of this whole thing is in my statement that I put out yesterday, we talked about gambling on sports. I probably should have put a word college sports on there, because about 9 months ago, we had Charlie Baker was pushing the idea of collegiate athletes being able to bet on fantasy sports and or pro sports, which I actually was an advocate for that. I am okay with our athletes betting on pro sports or fantasy football, and lots of people do that. Lots of students do it. And, it really can't impact the game. And if it did, for whatever reason, then if one of our collegiate athletes are involved in that, then that would be criminal. So I thought it would be just something you could give a young athlete that's in college that they want to do. Now, we all know the pitfalls and the downside of gambling, and there is obviously addictions. And I have had friends that I played football with that have had those addictions. So I'm very, very cautious and concerned about that. However, I do think that this league voted to pass this, to let athletes bet on pro sports and fantasy football, along with Charlie Baker he was an advocate for that. And then about a month later, it came out, and then we rescinded it. However, I kept my vote the same, and we rescinded it. So now this is a little bit of irony that this is happening. And so we'll see how it goes for there. That was kind of a long answer. Sorry.
But, you talked about, it's funny, of all the issues in college sports, this seems to be the one that's rallied everybody. Does it come down to wagering on the game that you play, being on a team and wagering on the team? And that's what has led to the passionate stance of so many to say, this is a hard no, and if we can't have this rule, then what are we doing?
Well, I think it's not just wagering on the game that you play. I think it's wagering on collegiate sports, period. Because you have a lot of influence in your locker rooms and on your campuses with other collegiate sports. And there's, as we've all read, I hate to say this, so I'm kind of I like reading a lot about the mafia and organized crime. I grew up in Kansas City where it was very prevalent. And so I've always kind of read all those books, and the organized crime is heavily involved in gambling. And, there's a lot to it. So I always thought that, hey, college sports should be off the table for our athletes should not be able to bet on college sports, but pro and fantasy sports, I have no issues with that. I've been pretty public about it. I was public about it with our league. And, a lot of our regular students can do it. But yeah, I think it's that simple. I think it's if you don't bet on college sports, you're in good. I think it's more that than anything. That's why the outcry. If it was just pro sports, however, we had another group of another school in our league that had athletes on their team that bet exclusively pro sports, and they lost 3 years of eligibility. They couldn't participate. So what does that AD tell those kids that will never get that back? And so, it's a challenging situation. I get it. But I just think for UCF, for how we would handle this is the way. Obviously the president could overrule me, but it would be my strong recommendation to have, if this happened, to not have that athlete participate. And it would probably hurt our coach, and it would be a tough pill to swallow. There's no doubt in my mind, but I think at times you just have to do the right thing. And I've been in this chair for almost 15 years, AD chair, and I've had to make a lot of decisions that wasn't based on, based on whether someone was, I've had some legal situations where individuals have been exonerated from those legal, but we still managed to separate or not allow them to participate because of the situation that they were in. And it just becomes a principal thing for me and the people that I've worked for in the past.
Quickly, 10 o'clock RWY, Jim Orlando, WJR, HD2, Cocoa Beach. How do you and other ADs operate in a world that a court system has now become such a factor that if you find a judge, you go seek a judge, that you're going to get a favorable ruling, and the rules of the NCAA that the members agreed to simply no longer matter. How can you operate in a world like that?
It's difficult. I think that's what's most disheartening about this situation more than anything. It's not so much, I mean, obviously the gambling is one thing, but the fact that any court, you can just sue in any court and get your eligibility back based on something that is probably the most sacred rule in college athletics, NCAA. I mean, I started playing ball during the steroid era. And, when you got steroids was a big deal, was very prevalent. And, everybody was worried about getting caught steroids. But one thing for sure that nobody ever knew, that they knew if they caught, and there was no argument, is if you gambled on your sport. And it was not negotiable. I mean, steroids, maybe I could, even bowl games, even the last 10 years in bowl games, if you popped for, marijuana or steroids, you lose 6 games for steroids for when they do testing at the postseason. I mean, I think that rule's still in place today. I mean, that's significant. And right now because of a court's saying that you only missed 2 games. And so here's the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
What is to say that any town that Texas Tech goes and plays, Douglas County, Lawrence, or Manhattan, or Stillwater, or Ames, or Orlando, that you don't have a judge in that community that says, well, no, you can't play in this community. I mean, could you file for that? I've thought about that. Last night. I was like, well, I mean, so where does this end? I don't know if that's even legal or not, but it just seems like this will never end if we don't get a hold of it.
Can I ask you, what do you want Congress to do that you think can help, if anything?
I want there to be limited liability protection. I want them to allow us to make rules and let the membership make rules and adhere to the rules, period. That's it. And I had the great privilege to meet with Mark Rubio about 3 years ago, since I've been at UCF and before he became Secretary of State. And I met with him and we talked a little bit about limited liability protection in Congress. And he was like, I don't know, I'm not sure you guys want us involved. And he was a senator at the time, and he was pretty funny about it. And but I don't think we have any other choice now but to get some type of congressional help and get some type of limited liability. I just think that we have to be able to make rules. The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball have some anti-exemption help, and they have the ability to make rules. They have collective bargaining. I get it. I understand that. But listen, I just think that we need we have, as you alluded to, we have rules, and then the membership sues ourselves.
Yeah, but can I push back to a degree?
But based on the rules that we create, the membership sues itself. So it's ridiculous.
But I'm curious, because I think some of your partners in this college sports world that they don't want the rules. So to say go to Congress, yeah. I mean, you guys supposedly agreed to the terms of a House settlement and the structure of the CSC, and within not months, within days, most people said, forget that. I'm not going to abide by that. And I don't know if you believe it, but a $40-50 million payroll, this isn't what you guys agreed to.
Yeah, no, I mean, within days, it was how do we circumvent the House settlement? And you know what? We can talk all we want. I was in the room, and yep. I get pretty angry about this. We talked about multimedia rights. We talked about redirect. We talked about all that stuff. When we went to settle in the House case, we actually brought that up to our legal counsel, which at the time our legal counsel, the Big 12, was I think the lead on the defense for the power conferences. We talked about we cannot allow redirect. We cannot allow cap circumvention. Even Brett was like, absolutely, it's a non-starter. You can't cap circumvent. But now that's all we do. That's all we talk about. It's like, okay, what's your rev share number and what's your above the cap number? I mean, that's it. Now I feel very blessed. We're competitively resourced. Do we have the most money? No. Do we have the least money? No. We're competitively resourced. So we got to dive in, and we've got to continue to create this culture of the right athletes. And we have to develop. We have to evaluate and develop the kids that we want to coach and kids that want to be coached. Period. And so if you do that, you stay that way. Listen, I can tell you right now, the team that won the ACC had one of the lowest payrolls. I know that for a fact because I talked to a couple of 80s. Some teams in our league that won 10 games had the lowest rate payroll. So you know what? You have to still evaluate and develop. That's still the key. There's a reason why Troy and who else is in the college World Series. Cal Poly I was there on the suite.
In a regional, yeah.
Regional, but Troy's, but do you think Troy has more money than Florida on baseball?
No, not.
I don't think so.
I think Florida's outfield has more money than Troy's roster, but that's a different story for different.
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak. I just know that they got the right players. They did the right evaluation. I think the same with Kansas. It was a great team this year. They had the right evaluation, right players, right coaching, all that kind of stuff. So it still does matter. So when people say, "Well, is it all about your payroll?" No, not always. You're never going to convince me. And but we kind of morphed onto another topic, But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the most disheartening thing about this is the judicial decision of allowing this young man to play, and it's not his fault. I mean, I would do the same thing if I was him.
What do you hope happens here? Because you mentioned the league has a role with bylaws, and the commissioner can step in. What do you want to see happen, and how quickly can that happen? And my guess is if the commissioner representing its members makes a ruling, there'll be another court case.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. That's where I'm not sure I could, probably need some legal advice.
Yeah.
I think because it's not considered a national body, we are allowed to make our own rules.
Mm-hmm.
If the league comes out with a ruling, will that satisfy? Will there be another lawsuit? I guess you can have another lawsuit, but it's a little more narrowed in scope. So I don't know what the next legal step would be. So I really don't know.
Do you have any comment on the whole boycott thing that people are talking about?
I don't really. I mean, you talking about other. I think you got to be careful about glass houses. Yeah. I really do. I do think there's some glass houses.
Oh, there's a lot of glass houses out there. Come on.
There's a lot of glass houses. I don't. As far as our league saying they were going to boycott, I have not heard any AD or anybody say we're going to boycott. I've not heard that, so I'm going to dispel that right now. Not to say that they haven't talked about it to people or media, but I haven't heard that. I think people are just trying to figure out what's the next step, and I think people are watching our league to lead on this. And and again, I want to make sure people understand. I am not glad. I advocated, whether you agree with me or not, I advocated to allow our athletes, college athletes, to bet on fantasy sports, because you all know how many people bet on fantasy sports and play fantasy football. It's a fun game. Everybody that's ever been able to do it that loves it. And then pro sports. I just think that the collegiate sport should be off the table, and I'm pretty adamant about that. And I think that if we were put in that situation, we would act accordingly. So that's.
Let me end with this. I was fortunate to get a tour of the new tower yesterday. Can you update people on where that's at? You got a game in about 80 days, and we're about to end the athletic year on June 30th. And I know you're proud because you had a pretty good athletic year, really good spring. So can you update on the stadium and then what the athletic year was?
Well, we got to keep grinding. We got a lot of work to do, and we got to hit some deadlines here really soon to keep things on track. I feel pretty good about finishing, but we still got a lot of work to do, and I want to make sure we're substantial completion on target. And then I think our year was 11 out of 16 sports made to the NCAA tournament or made to postseason. We had 3 conference championships. This is the best athletic year as an athletic department we've ever had, including in Conference USA and American. And so over 68% of our teams went to the postseason. 7th in the Big 12, and we, so I'm really proud of our coaches and our staff, and that has helped us. And I think the future is very bright for UCF. We're about ready to roll out our strategic plan. I think our rev share modeling, our rev share administration, when I say the administration, how we do things internally, how we evaluate things internally is probably as good as it's ever been. I will put our department up against anybody. I have consultants that are looking at our stuff to make sure we're on the right track, that are telling us that our internal model is as good as what they've seen out there. So we got a lot of really good things going, and we're excited about the next year. We got one team still competing. We got the 4x4 in Oregon competing tomorrow in the mile relay, which is my favorite relay of all time. And we got, I don't think we've been there for 14 years, and so I'm really proud of Dana Boone and her work. And so excited about ending the year in a strong way.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Terry Mohajir, a lot of stuff there, bouncing all over the place, not shy of opinions. And if you missed a portion of that, we'll post it soon. Keith Smith going to join us next.
Time to talk basketball with Keith Smith. The latest on the Magic and around the NBA. Follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA.
Keith Smith talks basketball with us on these Wednesdays. We appreciate his time. You can follow his work at Keith Smith NBA. Lots of coverage of the NBA Finals as well as all the offseason stuff as Keith's basically going team by team, so keep yourself educated. Keith, let me start first. I wasn't shocked when the NBA didn't do anything on Wembanyama's contact with Jalen Brunson, so I'll let you share your thoughts. What did you think of when it happened? And I'm guessing you're not surprised at what the NBA decided as well.
Yeah, I think the reaction to this has been way over the top for a play that would felt to me in the normal run of play just felt like hard as the fouls. Like there wasn't anything there like that seemed like, extremely dangerous or anything like that. And I just, it bothers me how many people seem to be rooting for suspensions, because you also had the play where Cornette ran into Josh Hart and Josh Hart pushed him, and you have a bunch of Spurs fans. They're like, "Oh, look at all the Knicks! They came off the bench, suspend them all." Like, what are we doing? Like, don't you want to watch basketball? Like, I'm not sure why so many people love to uphold the rules to the absolute letter of the law.
Okay, why the Spurs win Game 3?
I thought they did a much better job of getting Wembanyama in spots where he could be really effective. It felt like in the first couple games, it was a lot of touches around the perimeter, and the spacing wasn't great. I felt like this game, they got him the ball kind of in that mid-post area around the free throw line extended, and then he can really go to work from there. And I thought he did a really good job being aggressive and not just kind of, not that he wasn't playing hard in the first, couple games, but just it seemed like on offense, he was a little more content to just kind of float around the perimeter. So thought that part was absolutely, massive for them. And then I thought their defense was really locked in at even a different level than it has been, but most importantly, was locked in almost all the way through. And that was really important. They've had some bad fourth quarters in the first couple games, and this time around they didn't.
The beauty of a 7-game series, the adjustments that are made game to game, and the arc of a story. What do you think the Knicks try to do differently tonight?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is try to probably get a little bit more varied looks on Wembanyama. They got in the first couple games, Karl-Anthony Towns was the primary matchup, worked really great, and now all of a sudden Wemby kind of started to figure it out with him and the Spurs and the coaching staff as well. So I think you're going to see a couple different looks against him, and then I think offensively, you're going to find a way to get Jalen Brunson a little bit more freed up. So you may see some guys in the game, Mitchell Robinson maybe a little bit more, just simply because of their screen setting and just trying to get Jalen Brunson a little bit more freed up. I love that they've run everything through Towns since really they fell down 2-1 to the Hawks. But now you want to be in a position where you want to get Brunson going a little bit more. All that said, if I'm the Knicks, I don't want to overreact and panic too much. They just had a 13-game win streak snapped. It's not like everything is all of a sudden going wrong, but you want to be careful because you don't want to be going back to San Antonio tied 2-2.
No, I think your last point is really good because the overreaction is easy. I think, Keith, the really key part, Bridges' foul trouble had a ripple effect on the Knicks because, one, he's not a factor and he was shooting the ball well. Other guys had to play more minutes, and some of the bench guys didn't hit shots they normally do. And I think if Bridges doesn't get an early foul trouble, you're not extending some guys. And even though there's many issues in that game you can talk about, that was a big part of it when he got in early foul trouble.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then you mentioned there's the ripple effect because then you don't have him to put on other guys on the defensive end, and it all just kind of gets a little sideways. So I think that becomes a place where it is, all right, how are we gonna, ultimately kind of get there and adjust. And I think the Spurs did a better job. Landry Shamet he's not by no means a bad defender, but he's not really a great defender either. And I thought the Spurs did a really good job of attacking him and making him have to defend in space. I just think San Antonio was a lot more intentional about the way they ran things, and that gave the Knicks some trouble.
Why do visiting teams have success? I mean, obviously all 3 games have gone to the visiting team. Even in hockey, I watch this. I mean, is home ice, home court not the same?
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think across all sports, there's been, one, you have the fact that these tickets get so expensive that in a lot of ways, I think a lot of the real fans get priced out. Now, the Knicks fans were loud and they were really good. And And they also had the distraction, I guess is the best way to put it, of the president being in attendance and all the trouble people had getting into the arena and the like. But I think in these sports, when you get to this point, it's so expensive to go to these games that a lot of people seem to get priced out. And then that becomes a real challenge for folks to kind of, all right, how are we going to figure this out? How are we going to get, the diehard, loud, screaming and yelling fans in the arenas? And I think that caused a problem. And I think the players are just better now about these guys some of them from the time they're 10, 11, 12 years old, have played in major environments in these AAU tournaments and basketball. I know, talking to a friend who covers hockey, like it's the same thing in the youth hockey levels. So I think the pressure of being on the road in a big game just doesn't really get to them the same way as it used to.
All right, I watched your front office show, and at some point we're going to get to Giannis and what's going to happen there. Is Miami the only legitimate offer, and the Bucks are like, we got to get a bigger market?
Yeah, I don't know that Miami's the only legitimate offer. I think there is something to the suggestion that the Bucks may be waiting to see, do the Knicks kind of flame out here, and if they do, then will the Knicks get involved? Will the Knicks feel like, all right, we have to do something big now because we can't just run it back with the same group if we don't win the championship? So there may be something to that, and I think there's also the sense of, until the Bucks really say, all right, this is it, we need your best last offers, teams are just going to kind of hold in reserve because nobody wants to be the ones who go out there and, all right, here it is right now, and then find out, oh man, they're just using that for leverage to get the better offer from another team. So I think we're just kind of going through the process right now, and Miami's been a logical place to connect the dots to. They've been mentioned as a Giannis suitor before, so it's easy to kind of put together what their offer would be. And then with other teams, I don't think it's quite as easy to connect those same dots.
Maybe it's June 10th. I don't know if somebody in Boston asked Jaylen Brown to stop podcasting, but did the Celtics just say, let's let the emotions of the end of the season die down? As of today, what percentage would you put on Boston moving Jaylen Brown, and is it double digits?
No, pretty low. I'd say even lower than that. If they're going to do something like Giannis, it's going to have to be Jaylen Brown, because otherwise you're talking about sending out all of your depth, and that's going to cause you a lot of problems. So, but I just don't think the Celtics have a lot of interest in moving Jaylen Brown. I think it is, hey, this guy's really good, and he led a really good season, and we want to get ourselves into a place where we're, still kind of moving on this, and where we're, still winning at a high level and all those things. And they're looking forward to, right, next year we have Tatum, Brown, White, and then we got our core, and they've got enough flexibility this summer to make a couple additions around those guys. And let's get it back after with the group we've had, as opposed to let's, start moving Jaylen Brown and in other trades, unless it is, a super duper star trade.
One last question. What did you take away of Sam Presti's press conference, which he talked about SGA? It's 5 versus 6. He's playing social media. I get it. He went to protect some of his guys. I think he took some of the questions like, are you challenging my team building? But what did you take away of Sam Presti's presser, which I thought was fascinating on many levels?
Yeah, one, I love that he does it. He kind of is like, hey, I'm going to sit here and answer questions for as long as you guys have questions for. Then he'll do another one before the start of next season too, which is really cool. You don't get that from a lot of media folks. So generally do it kind of at the end of the season or after a big acquisition. And then it's just more like, look how great we are. Look, we went and, got player X, Y, and Z. And I thought Sam Presti had really good comments of, hey, it's, we got to figure out how to, help Chet Holmgren be better in these situations. I thought his quotes on SGA, one, he's protecting his player. He's protecting his franchise guy, and he's going to have his back. But then I thought when you had Draymond Green on TV the other night, kind of double down on it, basically, which is what I've said, is every great scorer in the NBA has been a good foul drawer. In Draymond, they had a bunch of plays clipped up, including one where Draymond fouled him, where he's like, this isn't a flop just because he fell down. He goes, I fouled him. He's like, it's a legit foul. He goes, yeah, he sells it a little bit, but it is what it is. But I think good on Sam Presti to have his guys back. And I thought he does, again, I think it's just a great thing that he's willing to sit there and, answer all of these questions that he gets, and he'll get deep into, different philosophies about where the game is going and the like. And I think that's, a win for everybody who wants to, hear one of the best who's doing it right now, kind of his philosophy on how to build a team.
Follow and support Keith's work. He's on X or Twitter, Keith Smith NBA. Get the links to everything he's writing about. Great off-season coverage as well, the front office show of the topics that are happening in the NBA. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Turn our attention back to college football. Less than 90 days, so actually we're under 80 if you count week 0. Connor O'Gara will join us. We'll chat with him when the Beat of Sports continues next. Speaking of sports, Marc Daniels on this Wednesday. I got to talk about this. What do you think of that?
That's unfortunate.
Game 4, the NBA Finals tonight. Tip-off is set for just after 8:30. Game 4, Knicks try to go up 3-1. Spurs try to even it up. And ticket price is come down. Now you can get in for just over $2,000. Like, that's easy. We're going to talk college football with Connor O'Gara in the 11 o'clock. I think I teased Connor coming up here, but he's coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll chat with him. Evan Weston a little bit later as we get set for the World Cup to start tomorrow. And the Americans play on Friday against Paraguay in a match that they need to win. If they don't, it would be really bad. Scott Snyder has been a guest on our show before. I appreciate Scott's legal analysis. He's on X or Twitter, Ed Law Dude. And first off, welcome back. And by the way, I appreciate your feisty, sparky approach on Twitter the last few days with this Brendan Sorsby story. And I think you're enjoying it. Am I correct?
It's killing me, man. I have so much work to do, and I'm wasting time on Elon Musk's app. So, yeah, no, it's what a waste of time.
It is, isn't it? But let's talk about it. You're in Texas. Can you explain how a retired judge got the Sorsby case? Because the original judge recused himself, Texas Tech grad. So how did this get to a retired judge?
Yeah. So, look, I mean, one of the things that's happened here, I'm a lawyer. I have a lot of confidence in, the judicial system. And the original judge, who was based in Lubbock, said, hey, I'm too connected to Texas Tech. And so then I'm going to recuse. And then when that happens, basically there's a bench of lawyers. Some are judges, some of whom are in senior status, some of whom are retired, who can be called upon to particular court, who can hear a case because of conflicts or the appearance of impropriety, et cetera. So Judge Curry, who was based in Fort Worth, and by the way, Fort Worth is light years away from Lubbock. He's been retired for about, I guess, 12, 14 years, came in. It's a pretty normal process when a local judge has to recuse himself. So that's the answer.
What did you make of his ruling? I'm sure you read it and analyzed it. What'd you make?
Yeah, my general take was it was really sparsely reasoned, and in that respect, I don't think he did anybody any favors. I mean, one of the issues that you need to be able to demonstrate in order to get injunctive relief, which is what he issued here, is that the plaintiff has a likelihood of success on the merits. And I know the lawyers for Sorsby, they're fantastic lawyers. In essence, their argument was the NCAA, in part, was supposed to take into account mitigating factors in deciding what the sanction should be, and that they failed to do that, and that constitutes a breach of contract. And reasonable people can debate whether that's a good argument or not. The judge in his order doesn't really even address it. He just says in conclusory fashion, hey, I think there's a likelihood of prevailing on the merits, and doesn't explain the why. It doesn't explain what the NCAA got wrong. And so in that sense, I don't think he did Sorsby any favors. I don't think he did Texas Tech any favors, but it's part of what is fomenting a lot of the outrage on this, setting aside the fact that, typically I was talking to a couple of ADs yesterday, and that, one of the things they're super clear on, and I've sat in on some of these trainings, is the cardinal rule is you don't bet, and you sure as heck don't bet on your team. And he admitted to doing that. And if you're going to say, well, that's okay, and this person might have a viable claim, you owe it to everybody, including Sorsby, the school, the general public, to explain your reasoning. And my criticism of the decision is he really didn't do any of that.
I don't profess to know how dockets work. It's interesting that the judge then said we can get to this in February. The college football season will be over by then. You can comment on that. And then I think you did tweet about the NCAA's appeal and some of the things that caught your attention there. And what is a possible expedited timeline for them?
Yeah, I won't bore you to death with Texas appellate rules, but the short version is the NCAA, or the defendant in the case, does have the right to appeal this. They've done that. There's a somewhat expedited process for appeals of injunctive relief, which is the case here. My hunch is, you could get a resolution of the appeal on a traditional track somewhere in the middle of the football season. What the NCAA, though, is likely going to do is try to file basically emergency motions with the appellate court to try to stay the injunction or reverse the district court's injunction and basically say that should be gotten rid of. And if the court does that, then my hunch is, because of the timing of things, Sorsby would say, hey, I'm not going to play at Texas Tech, and I'll enter the supplemental draft. If they don't do that, then the potential chaos as the appellate court looks at this in the middle of the season, decides, hey, we think the district court was wrong here, and this guy shouldn't have been eligible. And what the heck does that mean after he's played 6 or 7 games in the conference and all that sort of stuff? So if they don't intervene in that way, you potentially just have a disaster on your hands. In addition to, this is one of the situations where there seems to be unanimity of opinion that, wow, this was an outrageous decision, and what are the optics of allowing this kid to continue to participate, even if the appellate court doesn't weigh in on this in the middle of the season. So it's a mess.
There's an interesting moment coming for Brett Yormark, commissioner of the Big 12, and sometimes being a leader means you got to make tough decisions. His membership seems to be somewhat unified against Texas Tech, or really asking the league to make some sort of ruling here. You looked at the bylaws. There's a process to it. As you read those bylaws, what do you think is at hand here?
Well, I think the immediate issue, and I don't want to criticize anybody with the benefit of hindsight, but you can recall, in the Alabama case that was pending in Tuscaloosa with the basketball player, that one of the things Greg Sankey did was he intervened in that lawsuit at the district court level on behalf of the SEC and said, hey, this is why Alabama is wrong here. And I think there's been some criticism of the commission and Yormark that they didn't do that here. I would anticipate that they may in some way intervene in the appellate process. So we'll see. There's the separate issue, and I've been chatting about this on the Twitter or whatever it is, X, where, look, it's a conference that has its own governance rules, and if a member institution does something that has a material adverse interest, it creates a material adverse interest for its members, they have the power, pursuant to a very deliberate process, to intervene, and they've used that before. The dance they would have to do, and again, I'm not trying to get too pedantic here, is, hey, we're not going to relitigate the district court's decision. We're not going to say the district court, we're convinced they got it wrong. It's the uncertainty created by what is, in essence, temporary equitable relief. And if an appellate court comes back, what is the potential impact on the conference? And so, yeah, there is a process in the bylaws where a disinterested majority or supermajority of the board can get together and say, hey, we have the authority to sanction. And like I said, they've done that. Before. There are cases, Baylor is an example where there was a sanctioning process connected to the Title IX Art Briles situation as well. So there's a possibility that they could do that. They just need to be careful to not say, hey, we're trying to, in essence, circumvent the Texas court's ruling on this. That we're raising different conference-wide concerns about, hey, this has a real negative impact potentially on our conference.
Last question, and one is actually don't stop arguing with people in collective bargaining, because I think it's funny when people think this is so easy, and you and I have discussed before, and we'll have you back another time to talk about the challenge of that. But my last question is, in a world of college sports where you just go find a judge and you just get a ruling, if they were to ask you for advice, how do they just get out of this world where they can govern and everybody agree? And I'm not quite sure they want to agree to rules, but you can't operate a business this way where you just, hey, I'll go find a judge that gives me the ruling that I want. I don't need to follow your rules.
Yeah, part of it, the two answers to that question. Part of it is the weird way in which the NCAA is organized is because the way they're organized as a membership association, they are open to getting sued basically anywhere their members are. And you can bring breach of contract claims, which keep you in state court, et cetera, et cetera. And so one option is, I know Tom Mars, who's a really good attorney in this space, has floated this, is the NCAA could incorporate. And if they incorporated and they got sued, they would, in essence, avoid this kind of getting sued all over the place. The other option, is obviously you could legislate in this space. I have no idea. I don't think Congress at this point could agree to name a post office after someone, much less legislate in this complicated space. And then the third option is something I've floated, and you hear conferences talk about it a lot, is get the NCAA. If they're toothless in this space and can't enforce uniform rules, then the uniform rules need to be enforced by the conference. And so the SEC, Big 12, ACC, all of those organizations decide, we're going to be the rulemaking body for our member institutions, and we'll enforce them. And I can understand, by the way, at the conference level, why they don't want that. It's
you got to want rules in the first place, and I think a lot of these guys don't want rules, though.
Well, therein lies really the fundamental problem with this whole situation, which is at the end of the day, like a guy like Cody Campbell, his fiduciary obligation is not to the enterprise as a whole. It's to do what's best for Texas Tech, but when everybody starts thinking that way, and you think of LSU and all that sort of stuff, you don't have a shared system of shared rules. It's what we call a collective action problem. So I don't know what there are some modest things the NCAA could probably do in terms of restructuring this, some congressional help. And then there's the possibility of just a complete rethink about how these rules are administered and who administers and enforces them.
Scott, thank you. Appreciate the time. Go back to doing more important things.
All right, brother. Be good. Take it easy.
Thank you. Scott Schneider, the Texas-based attorney. I didn't know how the retired judge got the K. He answered that question. Well, who are we taking to? Bob's sitting around doing nothing these days. Bob, come on over here. I didn't know. He explained.
It's just do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. Well, get rules in place. Too many people don't want the rules. He can't get any rules in place. If you missed our interview with Terry Mahadra, the UCF AD, he talked about the Brendan Sorsby story. A little bit about what the Big 12 AD conference call was about yesterday, his position, all that. And interesting, Terry tells you where he's been on gambling. By the way, can I add one thing? I know we're getting late here.
Yeah.
And this is not part of what Terry said. Do you know when Terry told you his position on gambling about pro sports and fantasy sports?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, this is not Terry talking. This is me. This is me reporting. Do you know the school in the Big 12 that was adamant of absolutely nothing in gambling can be improved? Do you know who was one of the loudest voices in the Big 12? You got it. Texas Tech. Screamed multiple times. That's why Terry, okay, you guys don't want it. But the loudest voice saying, nope, can't have any of it. It was them. 11 o'clock hour with the news is next.
Let's really do the news. Yes.
Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock hour, WYGM Orlando, WJR, HD2 Cocoa Beach. Marc Daniels, Beat of Sports. Have you seen me eat grapes on the stream? Couple times, yeah. That's all right.
All right.
These people wonder, what's he popping, man?
Well, I mean, we're missing your, what was it, your bourbon or your whiskey? There it is.
Water bottle with iced tea drops.
Some bourbon, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
I'll get back.
iced tea drops. Oh, man. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, just getting all lit up. Yeah.
Hold on. Can we cheers? No cheers?
I mean, you can cheers all you want. This is iced tea drops in a water bottle.
My liquid death.
Got to drink my water. So I like a little flavored water without sugar. UCF Athletic Director Terry Mahajer was on our show earlier today. The interview is up at 96.9 The Game. I asked Terry about discussion of the Big 12 ADs. Did a conference call yesterday about boycotting Texas Tech. He said there was no discussion at all during the conference call about boycotting games against Texas Tech. Terry wouldn't give other specifics about what was on that conference call. Did acknowledge that there is another set of meetings with presidents and Commissioner Brett Yormark. It is something that Brett Yormark may have to deal with regarding a decision on Brendan Sorsby and Texas Tech. Again, you can catch an interview at 969thegame.com. Any place else they can get it?
Should be wherever you get your favorite podcast, no?
Ooh, get it there too. Last night, Stanley Cup final, even at 2 now. Carolina wins 5-3 in Las Vegas. They broke a 3-3 tie in the third period. Series goes back to Carolina tomorrow. Game 4 tonight of the NBA Finals. The Knicks lead the Spurs 2-1. San Antonio looks to win on the road, and will be 4 road wins in this series. Tip time is set for just after 8:30. World Cup does start tomorrow. Later today, Interco Stadium, Orlando City plays England, and Costa Rica player friendly begins at 4 o'clock. Note the traffic is going to be near the downtown area. FHSAA yesterday in a vote, open division, top 8 teams in all the major sports, regardless of classification. Big schools, small schools will play in their own championship. They'll use the Max Preps rankings to determine the 8 schools that will then basically leave if you're 5A, 6A, and you'll just go play in that group. They think it's to give teams that have no chance of winning a state championship because of some of the private school dominance a better chance. I think it'll work its way through the next few years of some criticism and tweaking of the system. The ratings last year, if you went Max Prep ratings, would not have helped Orlando team. I don't believe a single Orlando team would have made the 8-team open division playoff. Now, I've heard from coaches that don't want it, that don't like the idea of doing it. But
For what, though? I kind of like it.
what?
The open.
I think some like, hey, here's a classification, let's go play, and somebody wins. Others also feel like, because of where I play, I'll never make it. But that's where the model, I think, needs to be tweaked over the next few years, just like a lot of these things. And I think Florida becomes the 5th state to have an open division. So now you'll have some of the powers that'll play. St. Thomas Aquinas down in South Florida. IMG, although IMG's got some scheduling challenges to fit the formative for Max Prep, but we may get somebody on tomorrow to talk about that stuff. And that's what's happening in the world of sports. We come back. Connor O'Gara, who I completely messed up in telling Chris, hey, he's the 1040 guest. And he wasn't. He's the guest next.
Hey, what's up? This is Pat Lynch.
And I'm Taco Bob. You're not rocking out with WJRR.
Lock it in here with Marc Daniels and the beat of sports.
Sometimes a lot going on in the show, and I'm old, so I can send Chris the guest rundown, and, you get things a little confused.
It happens. We made it work.
Chris is calling Connor. He goes, I don't have it. And I go, wait a minute. I think I booked him at a different time. So I had a senior moment. It happens. But one of our favorite college football guys, Connor O'Gara, joins us. He's on X or Twitter at CJ O'Gara. Find his work. He's the host of the OG Kickoff with Next Round Live, which you can also access on X or Twitter. So sorry that we were stalking you on the phone earlier, and glad you're here now at the scheduled time. Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. You definitely sent me in a little bit of a panic. In any other situation, I probably answer the phone. We probably just pick up, and it's no big deal. The only reason why I was panicked was because I was in the middle of an interview with my guy Shahan Jayaraja, who does great work at CBS Sports.
Good guy, yeah.
Very, very good dude. Knows all things Texas Tech. So we were recording that for today's episode of the OG Kickoff.
Our bad.
That wasn't going on. It's an honest mistake. It happens. It's all good. It is a slow time of year, but in college football, there is no such thing as a slow time of year. So you are definitely forgiven.
I'll encourage people to listen to your podcast. But as you touched on that topic, I've had numerous guests on. I mean, just give me your thoughts on the last 72 hours of this story.
What a joke. What a joke that this is where we're at, that we're talking about someone who admittedly bet on his own team and did so in a way that was very public. And all of these betting slips are now public information. And yet all you had to do was just to circumvent the NCAA was just get a local judge to give him a stiff 2-game punishment in which he won't even miss a conference game. Somewhere Pete Rose is rolling over in his grave seeing this punishment, because my goodness, the NCAA doesn't have any power anymore. And I think it's crazy that we're at this place now in college sports, because we all felt like, wow, the NCAA got a raw deal with this and they should have been able to have their rules upheld. And instead, now in today's day and age, if you just don't like a rule, just find a local judge to rule in your favor and you'll be good to go. I think everybody looks at this and goes, this is so messed up, but hopefully it's so messed up that it actually leads to change and we get to collective bargaining and we can get to a place where athletes are employees and we can just take on all the challenges that come with that, just to get away from any sort of precedent that we've been setting with college sports right now.
Con, I've been to Lubbock several times. I actually like Lubbock. I've enjoyed Texas Tech rise and UCF short run of the Big 12. I kind of defended when people outside the Big 12 ripped them because they decided to spend money like other Big 10 and SEC schools did. So I don't have a problem with what they've built. I'm just curious, though, how they really feel now with the avalanche of criticism and the painted assassin villain, which you can say, hey, we thrive on that. But I'm not quite sure Joey McGuire, Kirby Hocutt, and the president anticipated this type of negative reaction. Do you?
I don't think they care. That's the thing that I keep coming back to is I think they look at this through the lens of a $5 million investment that they want to make good on. And they have a prime opportunity in what is a Wild West era of college sports to seize some opportunity to be relevant. And they did that last year with the way that they spent. Now, with the way that they spent this year, obviously there were risks and there were things that came of that. And I am one that thinks, look, if you were just a fan of any team, you would want to have a Cody Campbell in your corner. Now, where I think them entering this new era, it becomes very obvious with seeing the reaction and seeing all the different conferences and the Big Ten most notably step up and say, hey, we're not going to schedule you in future events. Like I had buddies who have no interest whatsoever in Texas Tech and went, oh, I hope they lose every game, because this is insane that this is being allowed to happen. And very quickly they have gone from being, I compared it to like a crypto company. Like they've gone from being this upstart where all of a sudden now everybody's looking at them through a totally different lens because of what they've been willing to take on. And because they did not stand up for the moral high ground of college football, they just looked at the money they're pouring into it and said, well, if we can find a way around this system, I guess we're going to do whatever we can to help ourselves on the field.
I do have a little bit of a problem with some, particularly in the SEC, more in the Big Ten, that want to die on this hill. I mean, these are some of the same people that agreed to rules of the House settlement and CSC that then said, I don't need to limit myself when it comes to rev share. I mean, they do realize the hypocrisy of that look.
Oh yeah, and everybody is just acting out of their own best interests. That's what this all comes down to. And if you're an athletic director at Georgia, and you're an athletic director at Nebraska, you can come on, you can say these things because you look at your future schedule for football, and you don't have them on there. You don't have Texas Tech on there, and you can try and make your moral high ground case and blah blah blah. Like, look, we all can agree with you, and we can also see that you clearly are just trying to gain some points. I mean, that's what all of this comes down to, and I think that even if you do think that this is absolutely ridiculous and I can't believe Texas Tech would do that, they're not the only program in college football that would do that. And I don't say that to excuse what Texas Tech did. It's a joke. I mean, they've made a mockery of the system, but they're not alone. And there are others who, if they invested $5 million in a quarterback, would be going to the ends of the earth to try and find a way to make them play. And they would not have someone stepping in and saying, you know what, we probably shouldn't do this because this opens Pandora's box. And it's a really slippery slope when it comes to gambling, especially in your own team. But yeah, it is just one of those things that it feels like everybody is speaking out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to this. And they're doing so because it's easy.
I don't know where we're at because I get more confused after the conference meetings on the playoff path here. Do you have any idea? Of
No,
24, 16, 12, 2, 9, 14? I don't know.
I wouldn't say 9 is in the cards. I wouldn't say 2 is in the cards. It feels like we're only going to be increasing well past this 12. So I would probably rule those out. I still, as much as I hate to say it, it feels like 24 is the most likely. And to be clear, I do not want 24. I think 12 has been fun. I'm not just saying that as an Indiana grad who watched my team win a national championship in this current system. I am saying this as a fan of college football who just watched, I think, 2 really entertaining buildups to the national championship. And I do think that going from essentially 4 to 24 in what would be a 4-year stretch, because let's remember, 2023 to 2027, that's the timeline we're talking about, and multiplying your playoff postseason field by 6x, doing so would have huge ramifications. And I do think that it's alarming that so many people, including like even Notre Dame, have just kind of thrown up their hands and been like, oh yeah, well, I guess this is just, we got to fall in line. And this just makes the most sense if we want to maintain how we're spending in college athletics. That's what this comes down to. They're not doing this so that that kid can play water polo. All right. This is about them wanting to continue spending and finding ways to be able to have their budget support that spending. And once you accept that, you understand why they're pushing for 24, as disgusting as it is. It's all about revenue. It's got nothing to do with making this fan base more interested or making sure that Olympic sport kid can play. It's all about just trying to spend and trying to find the best path and the quickest path to be able to do so.
Rank these coaches to who you think has a better chance to have a really good season. Summerall at Florida, Goldish at Auburn, or Silverfield at Arkansas.
I'm going to say Silverfield's definitely last on that list. I'm going to say Summerall's first and then Goldish is second. And I love Alex Goldish too, by the way. Like, if for those who don't know his story, I'm not sure like how much time you've had to dig into that and like kind of his roots as someone who's a first generation American who came to Brooklyn from Moscow and like fell in love with college football while watching Florida, Tennessee and Michigan, Ohio State. And like, his dad was a truck driver and worked for Little Caesars, like worked his way up the hard way and spent 2 decades getting this opportunity. He is a grinder and he is such a great fit for what Auburn needs right now in the midst of their worst 4-year stretch since the Harry Truman administration. So I like Alex Goldish, but I really like what Summerall's done. I think his offseason has been pretty remarkable with the coordinator hire of Buster Faulkner, bringing in Brad White, who's an established DC in the SEC from his time at Kentucky. And then knowing that you're going to have a lot of experience on the defensive side of the ball. Like, they're number 1 in the country in Bill Connolly's percentage of returning defensive production. And that's with 2 respected defensive minds. So, like, I just think that Florida is set up better than I thought they would be. So, like, I could see a world in which Florida is actually winning 8 games in year 1, and it's not that crazy. Like, I love that they were willing to spend on Jaden Baugh. I think Jaden Baugh is one of maybe the 3 or 4 best running backs in all of college football. I think that they have a real path to relevance. And I think having those personnel moves that John Summerall has made is going to pay some really nice year one dividends.
Because of the makeup of the league and teams that are realistic to be in a playoff hunt, does Miami have one of the easiest paths to get to the playoff?
I think so. Yeah, like this is something I was talking about last week with David Hale, who does great work for ESPN, covering all things ACC. And we kind of discussed the question, like, man, if Miami can't win it this year, if they can't win the ACC this year, when is it ever going to happen? Because it is set up so well for them. I mean, to see them as this favorite, where like even the second and third teams in the conference, like SMU and Louisville, are like plus they're like 7-1 to win the conference. Like that's how big of a favorite Miami is. It's almost like Clemson in the latter half of the 2010s. Like their path to the playoff is sitting right there. And then, oh, by the way, they don't even have to face SMU and Louisville, the two teams that they lost to last year where Carson Beck imploded. I mean, this roster is still loaded with talent. I know that a lot's going to be made about the losses of Bain and Mesidor on the defensive line. Like Damon Wilson II is going to be a problem on that defensive line. And I trust Jason Taylor to be able to coach up that unit. You love the offensive star power with Fletcher. And obviously Malachi Toney, somebody that really blossomed into one of the best players in college football as a true freshman last year. And then having Darian Mensah, like they are set up well. I think they might have the easiest path to the playoff. Some could maybe make the case it's Notre Dame because now they have this top 12 provision where if they're a top 12 team in the final rankings, they get an automatic bid. But man, I'll take Miami knowing that they still have that game against Notre Dame. It's going to be difficult, but if they're not sitting there at 10-2, I'd be absolutely stunned. I think they'll be in the college football playoff.
I had an FSU fan the other day say to me, now he knows what Florida felt like the last year of Billy Napier. And I said, no, you don't. Going to Napier's last year, Florida fans had expectations because they finished the year before with a quarterback they thought was set to go to the next level. At Florida State, you have no mojo. You have a fan base that doesn't want their coach, and you have a quarterback that I think is 4-17 as a starter. You've been in the state for a while. When's the last time you can recall somewhat of an irrelevant Florida State as a year begins?
And it kind of feels almost like 2020. And you know, that of course, lost in the shuffle of the COVID season was how bad Mike Norvell started there. If you remember how he just pushed the wrong buttons with the Black Lives Matter movement. He had players that were protesting against him and his treatment of them. Like, that's not to say that on-field results compare to that, but it feels hopeless in that sort of way where you look at the roster and you're just like, man, they had a difficult time recruiting a quarterback. Ashton Daniels, like, with all due respect to him and the career that he's had as a journeyman quarterback, like that doesn't exactly make you feel confident the way that at this time last year, at least you had Tommy Castellanos coming out and taking shots at Alabama. Like there was a different sort of buzz, even coming off of a 2-win season. The Gus Malzahn retirement, I don't think made Florida State fans feel particularly good, even if they weren't impressed with him as an OC. And you just feel like, man, they're going to have to bite the bullet, pay this $50 million buyout and start over. And that is a really troubling place to be, where there are people like my guy Brooks Austin who are basically saying like Mike Norvell's already fired. Like it's not even worth including him on hot seat lists. It's just a matter of whether they can, you know, get enough momentum for the buyout at this point of the season or that point of the season. So yeah, it's really troubling. It's hard to think about a time in which there's been less optimism with Florida State than what they're facing right now.
Connor's on X or Twitter at CJ O'Gara. Please find his work also at Next Round Live and check out the pods and everything else that he does. We'll talk again before the season. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, anytime, man.
Connor O'Gara, at the right time he was scheduled to be on the program. That was not me. That's me.
Hey, we moved on. We're good.
That was me. My bad. My mistake. What is in this water bottle? The World Cup begins tomorrow, the biggest sporting event in the world. Our good friend Evan Weston next.
What's good, locos? This is Angel from the Monsters in the Morning on Real Radio 104.1, and you're listening to the voice of UCF, Marc Daniels, and the Beat of Sports on FM 96.9 The Game. You want real sports talk? You got it right here.
About 27 hours and 21 minutes from now, the world's biggest sporting event begins in Mexico when the Mexican national team will host South Africa. Mexico, the U.S., and Canada, all three countries hosting the World Cup. And Mexico gets to the first match. Two matches on Thursday. On Friday, Canada will be in action at 3 o'clock. On the 9 o'clock match on Friday, the United States will take on Paraguay out at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Evan Weston is our good friend, part of the Apple group that broadcast MLS. And good to catch up. Happy World Cup. How are you?
Hey, Mark, looking forward to it. Everything's starting off tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do. You can take Spain, France, Brazil, Argentina, and England. Can anybody else win this tournament?
I'd say Germany would have a chance. They have not shown the requisite chemistry between their best players in order to beat your Spains and Frances just yet, but they have the talent. I think Portugal has the talent as well. However, they are still sort of at the whim of their star player who doesn't seem to have what it takes at the top level at this point. So I would probably put Germany into that group, and that's about all I'd be comfortable with in terms of a give me this or the field kind of situation.
What is the ceiling for the USA?
The ceiling is in an absolute perfect world, this is probably semifinals. I think the quarterfinals would be a success. That would be a good run here to win a couple of knockout games and go on the type of run that would keep people engaged for several weeks. Are they going to win? Almost certainly not. It would take something of a outlandish result for that to happen. I do think the home field helps them. I think that in large part just because it's going to be very difficult for the other teams to deal with our heat in the summer, being away from their homes for so long. The United States is going to be much more adapted to what's going on. They looked pretty good in their two tune-up games, especially against Senegal, but even against Germany, more than held their own in that game, even though they lost. But that's the thing, right? They more than held their own, and they still lost. So the semifinals would be incredible. It would be an amazing run. Quarterfinals would be a good result that I think we could be happy with if that happened.
Assuming a lot of folks in our audience will become casual World Cup fans because they may not be diehard soccer fans. I don't mean this as a criticism, but I do think there's some here warranted. Christian Pulisic 4 years ago to today did not become the superstar that we had hoped, partly because he has had a hard time scoring in elite leagues that he's played in. But who could our casual U.S. fans know about and should know about for Team USA other than the Pulisic name they've heard of?
Yeah, Pulisic is obviously still, I think, their best player and looked great in the two friendly games, which is a really good sign. The two other really load-bearing players for the United States are their defensive midfielder, Tyler Adams. He plays for Bournemouth in the English Premier League. They finished sixth in the best league in the world. He was their rock at the base of their midfield. He's one of the better defensive midfielders out there. Came up with the New York Red Bulls. Really, really talented on the ball and get into a tackle. He's had some injury problems over the years, but he is fully healthy and ready to go. And the other guy is their best defender, Chris Richards, who also plays in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. He picked up an ankle injury in their final regular season game, has not played since. Where his health is massive for the United States because the drop-off from Chris Richards to their next best central defender is large. They need him to be healthy, certainly by the end of the group stage to the start of the knockout rounds, presuming they take care of business in the group stage. He's going to be a guy that they really, really need. If you're looking for a fun player in the attack, they have a really good striker, Folarin Balogun. He plays for Monaco, one of the better teams in the French league. He had 19 goals this year and has been red hot coming into the tournament. I'd expect him to pick up more than one goal for the United States this summer.
Outside of the traditional blue bloods, give me a country that may go further than people anticipate. Give me a nice underdog to watch.
It's a good question. It's funny. I look at, I don't know how much further. Belgium has been the classic answer to this question for the last few years, and they seem to always disappoint. Their golden generation is aging out. That's also true of the Netherlands. So I'll throw Japan in there. They're in a tough group, but they have been the class of the Asian Confederation for the last several years now. They've snuck up on people in the past. I think they're a really well-balanced team. So I like the Japanese to go on a little run, maybe to the quarterfinals here.
Is there a small country that few people know about that may be just fun to watch because of their journey to get here?
Yeah, I look at Haiti as a team, and there was some controversy in FIFA expanding the field this year. Typically, the World Cup is 32 teams. This year, it's going to be 48. Similar to how March Madness is being expanded, there's some kvetching about it. But in this case, there is the upside of it allows smaller countries to get in. And Haiti had not been in the World Cup since 1974. The country has kind of latched on to the team as a point of national pride. They were able to get through, even with the 48 teams, they were not expected to even contend for qualification, and had some really tremendous results in qualifying and managed to sneak in at the very end. So a super cool story. Whatever they do in the tournament, I think is going to be, kind of just happy to be there, but really, really great to see Haiti get in. And you never know with these teams when they get in and they have nothing to lose. Sometimes they can shock and awe, and that's the beauty of the World Cup. So keep an eye on Haiti to have a fun time here in the tournament.
This is all gravy for Messi. For Cristiano Ronaldo, this is it. I mean, I can't imagine 4 years from now. For Neymar, who many wondered if he even make the team, who's the aging star that really needs it?
Neymar, because to me, Ronaldo is done. Mm-hmm. I just cannot imagine. I don't think he should be on the team at age 41. If he should be as a super sub. But he sort of demands to play 90 minutes every game. The entire federation revolves around his whims. As you would imagine, he has that sort of pull. But we saw in Euros 2 summers ago, they cannot work with him being carried defensively anymore. He just doesn't have it. And to me, that limits Portugal's ceiling. Brazil, Neymar was a surprise inclusion. I don't know how much he's actually going to play, but Brazil needs it, I think, maybe more than any country. They haven't won since 2002. They haven't really done a lot outside of 1 year since 2002. And this is, for my generation growing up, Brazil was the big boss. They were the country, and a lot of the European powers and even their arch rivals, Argentina, have now passed them by. So for me, there's so much pressure on Neymar and Brazil and Vinicius Jr., who is their current big star and one of the faces of Real Madrid, to get this done. They are not favorites. I would not put them in the top 3 or 4 teams that I would expect to win this tournament, but they are one of those that could, and that would be huge for Brazil to bring back the glory days and get it done here this year.
Evan, I choose to be a glass full guy, but what did we as a country not do in the years since we learned about getting the World Cup and coaching Mexico and Canada? I think a lot of people thought, man, wait till it gets here and what was going to happen to U.S. soccer. And I'm not saying it's all the U.S. men's national team fault with the coaching changes. It just seems like the vibe is not, and the event will be massive, but the state of U.S. soccer coming into this event is what? And if we did something wrong in the last 3, 5, 6 years, what was it?
Well, I'll tell you what, not qualifying in 2018 was a massive blow.
Didn't help.
I keep going back to that. As just, it was hard to conceptualize how big a deal that was at the time. And I don't think we've recovered really vibes-wise since then. We've had some good results. Frankly, our last World Cup was fine. It was about what you would have expected us to do in 2022. The Copa America disaster 2 summers ago was really, really bad. So the vibes have not been great around the performance of the team. Obviously, there is a lot of other stuff that we don't necessarily have to get into on this program surrounding the tournament that has brought the vibes down fairly significantly as well. I do think when it starts, I mean, literally tomorrow and Friday, it will suddenly be everywhere. And it's like the first 2 days of March Madness, but for 3 weeks. It's just the greatest thing in sports, in my opinion. And I think the magic of the World Cup kind of transcends that. I am really interested to see, though, how the United States does here is so huge and will determine whether or not we can turn the ship around in terms of the perception of where the program is going. I actually think the program is in a decent spot. The team is pretty good. To be able to get a coach like Mauricio Pochettino, even to come in as a mercenary for this World Cup, is a nice accomplishment. They're in position to, if they can go on a good run here, round of 16, hopefully quarterfinals, to build on this. MLS is really starting to produce quality young players in addition to the guys that are jumping to Europe at a young age. So it's in a healthier spot. There's also, I feel, a rush from people who just want things to go faster than they reasonably can. We have to remember that these other countries have 100, sometimes 150-year head starts on us in this sport. And while we're used to being the top dogs at everything, we're not here. We're the new kids on the block. And we are going to have to, over a period of decades, continue to grow. So there is a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing to it as well that I always want to stress. But overall, I think the perception is probably a little bit worse than the reality. I also think the reality could be better. And the results that the United States puts together over the next month are going to go a long way into determining what the next 10, 20 years look like.
Evan Weston catches coverage on the MLS broadcast in Apple as they resume play after the Cup. Thank you, Evan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Chris, I said Game 3 was a must-win for the Knicks. Now Game 4 is a must-win for the Knicks, right?
Has to be.
Don't lose to Paraguay tomorrow night if you're the U.S. You want to pop the balloon of excitement. You drop that match, which, by the way, is a tricky match, too. You win, you feel good, you get your win early in the opening week, and you get a good buzz, and you get a little bit of momentum. Don't lose tomorrow night to Friday to Paraguay. Don't lose to Paraguay. Must win. Back to Bit of Wrap on the Wednesday show next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Wu-Tang Clan performing tonight, Game 4 of the NBA Finals. I'll give you $10 million without looking if you can name every current member of the Wu-Tang Clan. All right, you give up. RZA, GZA, Method Man, Raekwon, Ghostface Killa, Inspector Deck, You God, Master Killa, and Capadonna. You were close, right?
Yeah.
Just left out one. Otherwise, you would have got them all, right? Just off by a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
So is it? I don't recall. Is this something that every team for the NBA?
No.
That makes okay. It's just New York.
I think Wu-Tang say, "Hey, we'll take the stage." Okay, cool.
Well, wasn't Game 3 Cardi B?
Yeah.
Or according to Charles Barkley, Cardi D's.
Okay, everybody's a comedian there. Yeah, yeah.
But is it just New York that's having,
I don't know.
Celebrity halftime performances?
I don't know. I don't know if the Spurs did it. By the way, I just looked 20 minutes ago. Get in price.
85.
No. $3,000. I said like it's cheap,
It's dropping.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Man, I'm nervous. Oh my God. 8.5 hours till tip. Ugh. Miss any of today's program, including our interview with UCF Athletic Director Terry Mahajer. You can find it online at 96 on the game and in our podcast form, both at the Beat of Sports and at the Beat of Sports on demand for the whole show.
It's also been posted on X.
And posted on X or Twitter. And if you missed the stream of the show, you can catch that on our YouTube page, 96 in the game Orlando. Click on the logo on the live button. You can watch the video stream back as well. Chris produced. Thank you, Chris.
You got it, Mark.
Marc Daniels. We'll see you tomorrow for Thursday edition of the Beat of Sports.